Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here is Tim Boyd.
All right, so my name is Tim Boyd. I am a comedian, but most likely you're looking at me right now and you're saying, hey, I know someone who looks like him. There's a few of you right now, yeah. And now some of you have realized that but no, that's everywhere I go. I travel the country from California to, well, here, up to New Hampshire to North Dakota, all over the place. And every time I'm done, someone will come up to me and say, you look a lot like somebody that I know. My friends, when they go on vacation, will take pictures of guys that look like me and say, well, send those pictures to me. And now I have a very weird collection of pictures on my phone. And I realize what it is. I'm the most average-looking person in the world. I'm the Toyota Camry of people. You never notice us, but we're everywhere. Right now, I look like half the guys you know. Now I look like the other half. That's it, right there. That's all of us. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 5. I'm the most solid 5 you've ever met. And that's never been a problem. As a matter of fact, it's pretty nice when you're growing up, right? Your middle school and high school, everybody gets in trouble. Was Tim there? I don't know, was he? No, everything's fine with being a 5. It's kind of nice to not be noticed. But then I got married. And some of you guys made the same mistake I did. I married a 10. And I don't mean it really hurts my feelings sometimes. If we were to walk into this beautiful church, by the way, give me a break. Is this not gorgeous? And I know the church isn't the building, but this church sure has a great building. I don't know, Pastor, you're the pastor of this church, right? Pastor of this church. All right, I don't know. So I was a pastor for 20 years. It's hard to believe. My senior pastor, he said to me, and the whole congregation, he said, the closer you are to Jesus, the further you park from the church building. Amen. I parked right there. That's my car. So at that church, we all started trying to get there early to take the farthest one away, and our senior pastor's like, I'm not sure if you got what I'm saying here. But anyways, I'm very humble, and I only say that because if you don't know, why be humble? If my wife and I were to walk into this church building, if we were to walk into this church building on a Sunday morning, everybody in the congregation would do this. I'm going to say, brother, sister? No, they're holding hands. He must have a lot of money. Joke's on them. No, my wife is absolutely beautiful. Looking at the age spread that we have here, some of you at some point are going to get on Facebook during my time. If you're not there already, you're going to look it up, and I'm going to audibly hear you go, oh. And that hurts my feelings, just so you know, okay? All right, yeah, she's absolutely beautiful. My wife and I eat very differently. Very differently. I don't know if you can tell from where you're at, but I'm 6 foot, 200 pounds. And my wife is about 5 foot and 100 pounds, okay? So she will take a bite of a candy bar, wrap it up, put it in her purse, and forget she has a candy bar. I have never forgotten I had a candy bar. I've never rewrapped a candy bar. I've never closed a bag of chips because I'm not a quitter. But no, I was explaining that to my coworker who also is a lady, and I said, hey, my wife does that. And she goes, well, actually, that makes sense. From time to time, you try a candy bar, and maybe you don't like it, so you wrap it up, and then you forget about it. And I said, that's the fundamental difference between men and women. A man will take a bite of a candy bar he doesn't like, and he'll finish it. And then he'll go get a Reese's to wash it down. I paid for that. I'm going to eat it. Yep. So my wife is so beautiful, I decided maybe what I need to do is to get in better shape. So I decided I was going to work out. So I found one of my friends that works out. There's 2 ways to identify people that work out. 1, no sleeves. And 2, They bring up the fact that they work out in every conversation. You knew where I was going. It's the same as vegetarians, right? How do you know they're vegetarian? They told you. They just told you. Is anybody here a vegetarian? Just raise your hand. Just kidding. Save your strength. That joke has been said by 5,000 comedians over the course of the years. Sorry, I can't have my phone on me. I have AD. All right. No, so I asked him, I'm like, all right, so I got to get in shape. What can I do? He goes, awesome. Bro. When he said bro, I figured I picked the wrong person. He goes, let's meet at the gym at 5 o'clock. The next day I found out he meant 5 a.m. So I got to the gym at 5 a.m. and it's open. There are people there, and there are women there who have spent at least 2 hours on hair and makeup. I get to the gym. I walk in. He's got a clipboard. I was waiting for a whistle. He's got a clipboard. He goes, all right, we're going to do a health assessment. I said, we can save a lot of time. Not. He said, all right, here's how many pull-ups can you do? I can do as many pull-ups as you think I can. 0. He's like, no, I need to know, how many pull-ups can you do? I can't, what do you want me to, I can't pull up my own body weight? What are we doing here? I don't have a 401k. I can't change the oil in my car. What do you want from me here? I can't do that. He's like, well, you got to do it. It's part of it. So I'll tell you what we'll do. There's a machine that you can use in the gym that's called the pull-up assist machine. You seen these? Okay. So what it is it's a machine that they want to make sure that you're not embarrassed using, so they put it in the very middle of the gym. It is the only machine that has steps to get up into the machine so that you can then survey everything in the gym and they can all look up at you and go, that guy can't pull up his own body weight. I said, I'm not doing this. So I have another friend who eats well. I said, hey, help me eat better. He said, all right, here's what we're going to do. Swap the bad foods you eat with good foods. And I said, that's great. I love eating good food. The more we talked, the more I realized our definition of bad and good was inverse. Apparently, nothing at McDonald's is good food. And I disagree. But no, he's like, all right, swap that out. So what's something bad that you eat? I'm like, well, I love Little Debbie snacks with all my heart. Whatever she makes, I'll eat. And he said, okay, we can't eat those anymore. So let's replace it with hummus. It's a bold choice. Now, I don't know if you have. Do you have Publix grocery stores up here? Okay, we're in a good part of the country then. Okay, we've got them in Florida. I love them very much. But so Publix has hummus of different flavors. So the original stuff, but the stuff that's flavored, it's not that bad. But the problem is, I don't know how I'm supposed to eat it. I grew up in the Midwest. If I see something that looks like a dip, I'm going to eat it with a... Thank you. One time someone yelled out, biscuit. I yelled back, are you from England? Or North Carolina? So it's very different biscuits. But no, he's like, so you can, I can't do that. I'm not going to eat with a spoon. I said, well, how am I supposed to eat it? And he said, well, you could dip a carrot stick in it. And I said, I don't think we should be friends anymore. I don't need that in my life at all. Yeah, so my wife and I have been married 25 years. Whoa, we're in a church. In a church, 25-year marriage is generally this. Cute, right? 25 years of marriage at my church is the young married small group. 26 to 49 is the middle married small group. And 50 years and up is the happily married small group. And I say that because it takes 50 years for us to finally realize the key to happiness is just doing this. Yeah. It works. I found out, I've been married 25 years, I found out that I'm basically a toddler again. I am. Before I leave the house, I go, does this work? And she goes, yeah, you're dressed fine. Okay, thank you. I go to a doctor's appointment by myself. Are you allergic to any medicine? My wife's not here. I don't know. My friends ask me, hey, do you want to go get Indian food? Do I like that? It's wonderful. I learned all this from my dad. My dad, they've been married 50-some years. Actually, they're pushing 60 at this point. My mom and dad have been married a long time, and my dad and I were watching TV. We were watching football. And my dad's messing around on his phone. I said, Dad, what are you doing on your phone? He said, well, my hearing aids are connected to my phone here, and they're connected to the TV, and so I've got this setting for TV where I can hear the football game better. It's like, man, that's awesome. I said, what's that one that says Mom? He says, well, that mutes her. Someone just got pointed at. And you should see his face. He did this. Actually, not really. He did this. Yeah, my dad, I love my dad. I love my dad very much. And that's how you know I'm going to kind of make fun of him, because I just said that. No, I'm just kidding. I love my dad. My dad likes to sit in a chair. That's it. My dad's got a chair he loves. That's awesome. That's okay. Someone's got to take a pill. Nope. I live in Florida. Those go off all the time. I have a lightning quick wit, just so you, okay. No, so my dad sits in his chair. I was there with him. I said, Dad, why don't you like to do anything anymore? And he said, well, it's too much hassle. And I felt really bad for him. And then I started thinking about it. And I think he's found the key to life. Pretty much everything is too much hassle. It really is. What's better than going to a football game? Watching a football game at home. On my 75-inch TV that cost me $40. Sitting in my own chair. Not next to anybody else. Eating my own food. And a bathroom just for me. My dad, when I went to go visit him, I don't know if you've done this in your 40s, but I'm a comedian, so I travel around, and every once in a while I can see my parents without my kids, which is weird, because then they've got nothing to focus on other than me. And I'm not a lot to focus on. My dad looked at me and he said, hey, do you want to go see the high schools in town? I mean, it's better than sitting here. Yeah, let's go do that. My dad lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We drove to the first high school, drove right past it, drove to the next one, drove right past it. My dad did a loop of all 5 high schools in town. So if you're ever in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and you want to know where the high schools are, I'm your man. My mom, when I go up to see her, my mom is the sweetest, gentlest, kindest person you ever met. I flew up to South Dakota, and I know you're thinking we're the only one on the plane. No, the pilot was also on the plane. I flew up to South Dakota. My dad picked me up, drove me home at lunchtime. My mom had prepared lunch for me. It was, and I'm not kidding, it was a T-bone steak. Enough said already, right? T-bone steak, rolls, some vegetables probably, baked potato, strawberry jam, homemade, so sugar with some strawberry, and then a strawberry rhubarb pie. I didn't say piece, I said pie. I looked at my mom and I said, I'm never leaving. My mom, when she got to the age where she could start ordering off the seniors menu, she threw a party. It was the best day of her life. She said, I don't want to pay the prices and I can't eat that much. Well, she still can't finish a full meal. I don't know if you've ever seen that when you see a little lady, like when my wife gets delivered food at a restaurant, you can't help but just go, is that going to be enough? And we all laugh. She doesn't laugh, but it's fine. But no, my mom will eat half a hamburger, and she'll bring the other half home. And that's fine, except she puts it in the freezer. Hamburger bun, ketchup, tomato, lettuce in the freezer. And Mom, what are you going to do with that? Until supper time came, and she said, are you hungry? No, ma'am. I'm full from lunch. It was so good. Thank you. My mom likes to show pictures on her phone. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Since the very first time someone looked at another person and said, would you like to see a picture on my phone? Nobody's ever answered that honestly. What we're saying is I like you. You want to see a picture on my phone? Of course not, but I like you. So I'm going to say yes. My mom said, you want to see a picture on my phone? And I said, absolutely, ma'am. So she pulled up pictures. They had just gone to Big Sky, Montana, and she took pictures of the sky. And I'll tell you what, nothing captures the beauty of Big Sky, Montana like a 4-inch screen. And we were outside. So 25 years of marriage. My wife has taught me a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that I thought I knew, but I didn't. And I got to learn it. She taught me that there's words that I thought had a particular meaning, but they actually mean something else. For instance, the word fine. When I was single and I asked anybody how they're doing and they said fine, I'd go, all right, and everything was fine. I found out that when you get married, that word now means the exact opposite of what it used to mean. Then there's the word ready. First time my wife said ready, I went to the door. I did not realize that the word ready can mean about an hour and a half of different things. It's more of a spectrum. And then there's a word that I always thought was plural, but my wife can use it singularly. We. We need to take out the trash. Why would we both do that? We need to lose weight. Got it. Thank you. Oh, don't. Oh, no, my wife loves me so much. As a matter of fact, people always ask, like, so does your wife still laugh at your jokes? Yes, she does. So much so that I don't run any of my jokes past her because she laughs at everything. And I'll get up on stage somewhere and I'll say a joke and no one will laugh and I'll think. But let's be honest, other than funny, I got nothing else. I got her just with funny, so it's working fine for me. That's all I have. All right. So 25 years of marriage, there's a phrase. There's a phrase that the first time I heard it, it sounded awesome. She said, just do whatever you want. First time she said that, I bought a jet ski. That's what I wanted to do. I found out that after you get married, what that phrase means is that somehow I have to now figure out what it is that she wants and pretend it's what I want. I have a 14-year-old son. He texted me this summer. He said, hey, Dad, can I go to the park and play football with some of my friends? Now, my wife's a teacher, and it was summer, so she was home. And I thought, I've been married long enough. I thought, well, why is he asking me and not her? So I texted him back. I said, well, what did Mom say? And he said, she told me to just do whatever I want. And I said, son, you're ready for marriage. And you're going to clean your room. There's another word that I'm working on, and it's the word clean. My wife and I use it very differently. Is the house clean? When she asked me by the way, I've been married long enough to never ask her if the house is clean. I've never said that. But she says, is it clean? I'll say yes. But apparently what that means is it's picked up, which is funny because then in the car, when I get in, it's neither clean nor picked up. Okay. So I don't know if you noticed that when I'm standing here, but when I moved from South Dakota to Florida, but I am originally from South Dakota. Please hold your applause. It's okay. When I say I'm from South Dakota, someone will inevitably come up and say, hey, I know somebody from North Dakota. I'll assume we know you, and we do. We know each other. But anyways. But no, when I moved from South Dakota to Florida, the hardest part was that in South Dakota, 10 months out of the year, I can wear a hoodie or a jacket or a sweater or something to cover this part of my body. And so I can pass for thinnish. But in Florida, you can't cover that part. So I'm South Dakota slim, but I'm Florida fat. And some of you didn't have to prove it. But no, I've got one of those body types where when I'm standing up, I could almost pass for in shape. Almost. But as soon as I sit down, it's like every fat cell in my body says, we should get together. Where? His belt. Will there be room? No. I have what in the medical community they refer to as muffin top. It's where my body just kind of muffins over on the sides around here. But I'd like to get into the medical community and change it from muffin top to cupcake. It's pretty much the same thing, except one has frosting. Let's say that my wife says, hey, muffin top. That would hurt my feelings. Now, let's say that my wife says, hey, cupcake. Now we're singing a whole nother song. And maybe I'll be getting some frosting. And I'm a 46-year-old man that's been on a diet basically his whole life. So I'm talking about frosting. Frozen in the can. Only connoisseurs know what I'm saying, right? It's funny, when you're an adult, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, would you like some birthday cake? Oh, no, I'm on a diet. None of that for me. I'm going to eat a whole tub of frosting by myself later. I can't eat this in public, but I'm fine with the shame when everybody's gone. It's okay. So we have 5 kids. 5 kids. Sometimes that's a lot. It depends where you are. Sometimes I speak at Catholic events. And I can tell the older people are looking at me going, why did you stop? Or Amish. My grandparents had 60. That's the first batch. But no, we have 5 kids. Our oldest is 22 years old. She goes to college. We dropped her off at school. I was not prepared to have a child fly the nest. I grew up in the 90s watching 90s sitcoms, and the jokes are always, let's get the kids out of the house. And as soon as one got out of the house, my wife and I are like, so now we're just done. My wife was mad at me. I had to remind her when we chose to have kids, I wanted 2, she wanted 3. God said you can have 2 and 3. So we dropped off the 22-year-old at school. She's smaller than my wife. She's 4'11", 95 pounds. We dropped her off at school at a big person school. We dropped her off and we're driving home and we're crying. My wife is bawling because she misses her so much. And I'm weeping because I know somehow this is going to cost me more money. We got home. We woke up the next morning. My wife said, I'm going to call her. I said, don't call her yet. She's probably up all night studying the Bible. I'm talking about how education is more important than boys. I said, don't call her yet. Let her sleep. She says, what are we going to do? I said, let's go get breakfast. We got breakfast. What do we do now? Devotions. We did our devotions. What about now? We changed the oil in the car. I did whatever we could. I held her off as long as I could. 4:30 a.m. she called. The next morning, my daughter figured it out. She texted us. She said, I'm okay. I said, there you go. Every morning now for the rest of your life. You pick up that phone that Dad pays for, and you text, I'm okay. Because until I get that text, I assume you've been taken. And I'm going to have to call Liam Neeson to come get you. Because he has a very particular set of skills. We have a son who's 20. He graduated high school 2 years ago. He still lives at home. We don't miss him. We would like to. But we love him. We love him. I'll tell you what, if it's up to me and Mom, he can live there forever, and he probably will. Then we have an 18-year-old daughter. An 18-year-old daughter. I've never heard a door slammed so loudly as I do her 20 to 30 times a day. When she turned 16, we bought her a car, and here's why we did it. In South Dakota, when I was 14, you could drive because there's 4 cars in the state, but I could drive at 14 in South Dakota. But my dad bought me a car when I turned 14. It was a Chevy Citation. You should get a citation for driving a car that ugly. That's a joke for some of the older ones of us, just so you know. Had a lot in common with the Flintstones. You could see the ground. You could see us right there. Brakes don't work, you're okay because the car only goes 10. You're fine. But no, my dad bought me a car. He said, I'm sick of driving you around everywhere. Here's your car. He goes, by the way, we can't afford college, but we can afford to get you a car. I took that car. I said, thanks, Dad. That's the proper thing to say. Thanks, Dad. You bought me a car. I used that car in college. I delivered pizza, and I paid for college delivering pizza with that car. It smelled so bad. But no, I did that. And so then my wife and I, we decided, I'm working on that callback. It's going to come up again. All right. So no, we decided that we were going to buy, whenever our kids turn 16, we're going to get them a car. We didn't at that time realize we'd have 5. But anyways, so the first 2, we got cars before the pandemic. Do you remember what you could get a used car for before the pandemic? For about $2,000, you could get a car that ran and had air conditioning. After the pandemic, for $2,000, you can buy most of a bike. So it became time to get her a car. I had $5,000 to get a car, which, by the way, when I was 16 would have been a pretty nice car. For 5, some of you are looking at me going, was it a crank start? Just kidding. If they're that young, they don't know what the crank start is, do they? But anyway, so no, I had $5,000 to get a car. So I got on Facebook Marketplace and I start sending these pictures of these cars to my daughter. And she's sending them back going, no. I said, I'm going to quit sending you pictures and just get you the car that I choose. And she talked to Mom. And we decided that she would have input. So I'll tell you what I did. At that time, I was driving a used Toyota Camry. To nobody's shock right here. You walked in, looked at me, and said, Camry. I drove a used Toyota Camry because that's the car I had to buy as an adult. I had to get a car. My friends asked me, hey, did you get a car? I said, yep. I said, what'd you get? Camry. They said, smart. Because that's what it was. There's not a 5-year-old boy in the whole world who right now is going, you know what, when I grow up, I'm going to buy a used Toyota Camry. Cloth interior, good gas mileage. It makes sense. No. So that's what I was driving. Matter of fact, that car is like the vanilla ice cream of cars. It is. As an adult, when you go to get ice cream, you're like, what do you want? Vanilla. I'm an adult, so I'm assuming it's better for me. What'd you get, buddy? Rocky Road. Rocky Road? What's that? Chocolate, nuts, marshmallow. Oh, nice. What'd you get, buddy? Superman. Superman? What's in that? Blue. What's it taste like? Blue. All right. What'd you get, Dad? Vanilla. What's that taste like? It tastes like buying a used Toyota Camry. So anyways, I gave her that car. And I took the $5,000 and I got on Facebook Marketplace and I found myself a 2004 cherry red Ford Mustang convertible. Thank you. Yes. And the outside looks nice. That year, it's the 40th anniversary. It's a very special paint color. I live in Florida, so I can have the top down when it's not raining. It's a very special paint color. It comes with a sweet V8, super loud, super fast, super awesome. But also, they came out with a V6 that year. And everybody makes fun of the V6. And if you have $5,000, you can buy the V6. So that's what I have. So I wanted to upgrade the car, but I don't have a lot of money. So I got on Amazon and I found a decal that says GT. And I installed it on the back. And you're thinking, did he really do that? And yes, I did. And I'm going to let you in on what it's like to be a comedian. Sometimes comedians, we just have jokes for ourselves. My favorite thing to do now is when I'm driving that car and I'm stopped at a light, is to look in my rearview mirror in hopes that there's a car guy behind me looking and going, That's not a GT. And it brings me immeasurable joy. All right. 18 years old. Then we have another one. All right, so if you're counting, that's 3. We have another one. He's 14. We adopted him from the country of Uganda. Now, if you don't know a whole lot about, Uganda, all right. If you don't know a whole lot about geography, Uganda is pretty much in the very center of Africa, all right? I'm going to talk a little more about that in a moment, but when we adopted him, at that time I was the pastor of a church, and we had a bunch of church people that were giving us money for this adoption. We were at a little church in a little town, and it was rural, and people, like one family sold a whole field of soybeans and gave us the proceeds, $5,000, with a note that said, God sold these beans for your adoption. When God provides vision, he always brings provision. Right? Amen. All right, so we get all this money. At that point, we adopt him, and while we're doing this, as a pastor, sometimes people ask you odd questions that they won't ask anybody else. And I'm not making fun of it. It's nice, honestly. Like, you're trusted. Like, it's nice to know that as a pastor, I'm trusted for you to ask a question that you're embarrassed asking other places. That's okay. So I would never get questions from people adopting. It would be from their parents, so the grandparents of the adoptees. And the number one question I would get is this one. Are you going to tell him? If you haven't followed on, that he's adopted. Well, Mrs. Jones, he was born in the middle of Africa. I was born in the middle of South Dakota. I guess if he doesn't figure that one out, we have a lot of other things to talk about. And then we have another little boy. He's 9 years old. And he's biological. Thank you. Whoever said oops, oh, you're right. We were calling him a surprise, until a sweet lady from church pulled us aside and said, don't call him a surprise. He'll think he's unwanted. I said, I don't want any of my children to feel like that. No, you thought I was saying I don't want any of my children. I'm finished, Cassandra, I'm finishing. I was saying we're recording it too. I was saying, and they started laughing, I don't want any of my children to feel like that. Feel like that. If I didn't have children, all I would have is money, time. Anyways. But no, so people are like, or she said, don't call him a surprise. I said, well, what should we say? And she said, you should call him a bonus. I don't know if you know how bonuses generally work, but most of the time you don't lose money when you get one. One of the toughest things from moving from South Dakota to Florida for me was that when I moved to Florida, we now have a lot more options to eat at. In South Dakota, we have 2 restaurants, Cracker Barrel, and on the other side of the state, it's another Cracker Barrel. Okay, that's how we measure distance in the Midwest. How many Cracker Barrels away is it? 4. 4? We'll get a hotel. But in front of that hotel will be a Cracker Barrel. But anyway, so I found a place that sells just fruit smoothies. That's the only thing they have there. Fruit smoothies. I'm going to go get one. So I decided to go get a fruit smoothie. So I drove my car, and I got in a line of cars that wrapped all the way around the building for a fruit smoothie. And I could see my grandpa from South Dakota in heaven looking down at me and going, there's places around here that sell meat. It was my turn to order. And I looked at the menu. And it was a billboard. And I don't recognize some of these words. What's a quesadilla? Who's quinoa? Butterfinger? I didn't know Butterfinger was a fruit. I'm a healthy eater. A little girl came on the thing. She said, what would you like? I said, help. She said, what do you like to eat? I panicked. First thing I got, strawberries. She said, would you like the extreme strawberry blast? I said, that sounds fantastic. She said, would you like to add anything? Like what? She said, would you like to add any protein? Like chicken?